All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we're going to look at leadership from a totally different angle. Think of it less like a skill you have to go out and learn, and more like an architecture that you're designed to align with. And our blueprint for this whole idea? Well, it actually comes from an ancient text, Jeremiah chapter 1. We're going to treat it like a strategic map, a guide for visionary leadership.
So let me start by asking you this, because it really gets to the heart of everything. Have you ever felt that? That weight of a calling, a vision, a project that just feels way too big for your experience, for your resume? It's that little voice inside that says, "Who are you to do this?" If you've ever felt that tension, then this is for you.
Because here's the core idea, the crucial point we're going to unpack. The most effective leaders, the ones who really last, they don't invent some new version of themselves to fit the role. Nope, they operate from a deep sense of alignment with who they were already designed to be. And that is what we're breaking down today.
Which brings us to our first major concept, this idea of the pre-designed leader. It's the notion that your purpose, your unique capabilities, your whole leadership framework was actually put in place long before you ever started thinking about your career. This verse is kind of a bombshell, because it just flips the script on all that modern pressure we feel to invent our own significance. It suggests that our purpose isn't something we have to create from scratch, but something that was assigned. It was established before we even drew our first breath. Now, to really get this, we've got to go back to the original Hebrew. The word used for new here is yada. And this is so cool. It doesn't just mean, oh, I had some information about you. No way. This is the same word used to describe the deepest, most intimate relationships. It's all about intentional, purposeful design. What that means is you're not some cosmic accident. You are a custom-built solution to a specific problem.
You know, a really helpful way to think about this is like computer hardware and software. Your hardware, that's your personality, your intellect, your natural gifts, even your life experiences, all of that was custom built for a reason. And the software, things like God's Word, His presence, His authority, that was all pre-installed. So your job isn't to manufacture your purpose, it's to align with what's already been coded right into your design.
Okay, so if we've got this incredible preloaded design, what happens next? Well, almost without fail, what comes next is that very, very human moment where we start to argue with the design. We're confronted with our own feelings of inadequacy. And there it is. Jeremiah's response is just painfully relatable, isn't it? He doesn't stand up tall and say, "Let's do this." He immediately starts listing his deficiencies. I'm too young. I'm not a good speaker. This is the universal soundtrack playing in the head of every leader who's ever been called to step up. And you know what? It's a normal part of the process. Now, God's reply here is just fascinating. It's not a motivational speech. He doesn't pat Jeremiah on the back and say, "You got this, buddy." Not at all. He gives what you could call a jurisdictional correction. He literally says, "Do not say." He goes right after Jeremiah's words, because when you start speaking from that place of inadequacy, you're not just being humble, you're actually arguing against your own design specs.
And that means there's a serious mindset shift required. We have to stop arguing for our limitations and start agreeing with our assignment. And this isn't just about positive thinking. It's about aligning your internal conversation with a much deeper divine reality. It's about trading in that fear-based identity for a truth-based one.
So once that mindset gets corrected, we see this really critical transition take place. This is the moment a leader goes from just having a purpose to being fully authorized to actually carry it out. In the original text, there's this profound moment where God physically touches Jeremiah's mouth. It creates this clear before and after. Before the touch, Jeremiah has a good idea, a calling. He's inspired. But after the touch, he has authorization. He's been installed. He's no longer just working for God. He is now working from a place of God's delegated authority. That changes everything.
And with that new authority comes a two-part job. See, real transformation isn't just about building something new and shiny. It often requires demolition first. You have to be willing to uproot, tear down, and overthrow the old, broken systems, whether that's in a company, a community, or even in your own life. And only then can the real construction begin. Only then can you build and plant what's new and what's aligned with that original, better design. This all leads to a massive strategic advantage for any leader. And it's not about being the smartest or the fastest person in the room. It's about something much more subtle. It's about the power of perception, the power of seeing correctly. So after all this, God asks Jeremiah a really simple, almost diagnostic question. What do you see? The whole focus shifts right here. This isn't a quiz. It's a test of discernment. Can you look past the noise, past the obvious problems, and see what's really going on? And what happens next is just this moment of genius-level wordplay in the original Hebrew. Jeremiah says he sees a branch of an almond tree, or shaked, and God replies, "That's right, because I am shoked. I am watching over my word to perform it." It's this incredible, deliberate pun that connects the thing that's seen to the promise of what God is actively doing behind the scenes.
So why an almond tree, of all things? Well, in that part of the world, the almond tree is the very first one to bloom at the end of winter. It's this beautiful sign of life when everything else still looks dead and dormant. It's an early indicator. A visionary leader, then, doesn't just see the problems of winter, they learn to look for the almond branches that signal spring is just around the corner.
So, what's the end result of all this? Of this deep alignment and this correct way of seeing? The final piece of this leadership architecture is a guarantee of resilience. A leader who is aligned and sees correctly is literally fortified for the battle that always comes with real change.
And the kind of fortification being promised here is, well, it's just incredible. God tells Jeremiah that he has been made into a fortified city, an iron pillar, and a bronze wall. These are not weak, fragile materials. They are metaphors for something that's been built to withstand conflict, pressure, and to endure for the long haul.
And this right here is the ultimate promise. Look, opposition isn't just a possibility, it's a certainty. They will fight against you, but the outcome is just as certain. But they will not overcome you. Victory isn't based on your strength, but on the simple, powerful fact that the one who sent you is with you. Which brings us full circle. The big takeaway from this entire blueprint is about reframing the most fundamental question we ask ourselves as leaders. We burn ourselves out asking, can I do this? Am I good enough? Am I capable? But the real question, the one that unlocks everything, is was I designed for this? And so that leaves us with one last challenging question to think about. Based on all of this, where in your life, your work, your leadership, are you currently compensating? Striving, forcing, and faking it. Try to make up for some lack you think you have, instead of simply operating from the powerful, unique design you were given from the very beginning. That's a question worth sitting with.